brain. Welcome into his frequency. Enter at your own risk. Come be at peace with me. Ask the Paul, where we rise and don't fall.
Welcome back to another episode of Baxter's Buzz. I am your host, Baxter E. Hall. Welcome to my brain. Welcome to my frequency. Enter at your own risk. Now, today I have a special guest with me. She is a culture shifter. We'll talk more about that in a bit. She provides life and business coaching for soul-led feminine leaders. She uses empathy-based practices to support women own their voices, embrace feminine power, and create mission-based businesses in service of transformation, justice, and equity. When she's not doing all that, she runs a girls leadership program. The Power of Girlhood is for ages 8 to 18. And she's also a bilingual poet, which I did not know about before. So I want to get into that a little bit. And the quote that she left was, she believes that feminine empaths are here to disrupt the patriarchy and oppression with their mission-based businesses. Ber-Henda Williams, welcome to Baxter's Buzz.
Thank you so much, Baxter. Thank you for having me. Happy to
No, I'll just say, I tell people that when I mean it, I tell people, I pray a lot for inspiration, and I just feel so blessed when I'm able to run into people who immediately spark me, who immediately sort of change the way I'm thinking about things and sort of help me either change some thinking or either think about kind of reinforce the path that I'm on. We had been connected on LinkedIn. We met face to face, and I was just so impressed with you, and I'm so glad we've been able to stay in touch, and I'm looking forward to learning more about you and sharing it with the audience as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when we met, we talked about the power of girlhood, but what came first, the coaching piece or the power of girlhood, or were those things sort of formed around the same time? Walk me through kind of what led to some of the ventures that you have and businesses.
Thank you for asking that. So I would say that they sort of came at the same time. I started coaching I didn't realize I was coaching when I was coaching. I was a teacher by trade.
Okay.
A high school Spanish teacher. And what I would notice when I would see certain behaviors in the classroom, we would need to have a conversation. And I never did it in front of other students because, if you have an audience, it never goes well. So
Right.
let's remove ourselves from the environment and let's talk and get to the root of what's going on. And that's when I said, oh, I learned later, when you start asking sort of probing questions or trying to get clarity around a particular action or behavior, that's a lot of what coaching is, because you want to create a shift for the person. But it also, in teaching, students don't learn until they know that you love them.
That's right.
So sometimes behaviors are a form of attention getting or attention seeking.
That's right.
Right? So there's a why, behind everything. And at surface, because principally I taught Black and Brown students, we would have very real and authentic conversations about the world and their placement in it. And of course, you deserve to have a place in this world and a voice in this world. However, there are thoughts formulated about preconceived notions about who you are. Not your fault. However we conduct ourselves then can either change narrative or confirm.
That's right. That's
So
right.
we have some very real conversations. And if you take this language, I know not all of you are going to go off to college and continue with this language, but I would say for those of you who feel like you have a knack for it, this language will open up doors for you that may not be open to others, and they won't see you coming. It's not expected.
Mm-hmm.
But when I tell people that I'm bilingual, I see this look, and I'm like, what's the look? So, are you Puerto Rican? Are you Dominican? Are you Cuban? Obviously, places that have more of an African presence. It couldn't just be I studied.
Right. Right.
It couldn't be that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so from day one, when I would teach, we would one talk about culture, and then two, then we would get into language. But from a cultural standpoint, the game would be laid down this way. The Moors conquered Spain. The Moors weren't conversations that they had in other global studies and talk about the Moors. We're going to talk about the Moors here. We're going to talk about the Roman Empire, the Greek and Ottoman. And we
Okay.
also need to have a conversation about the Moorish Empire and how it conquered Spain for over 600 years. And we would not have math, architecture, language, hygiene in the ways that we see it now. They look like you. So coaching, culture, power of girlhood, identity, they all kind of rose at the same time. But obviously, I am a high energy person, but I only had bandwidth, so I had to learn how to move seasonally and in a rhythm and in a flow. And the power of girlhood also came out of teaching, again, out of seeing certain behaviors, culture, community, family pathologies. Okay, so these girls get to be the generational curse breaker. They get to be the ones that reset and define the trajectory of their families.
Mm.
I know that might sound heavy for a high school student, a lot to put on the shoulders, but, and no spoiler alert, I saw the Woman King. I was like, oh no, I was fine. They got it.
Yeah.
Because our protagonist in the film, I think she was 19 years old. I was like, oh no, I was fine.
Yeah.
And they did, because they
Yeah.
were just these really deep and profound life questions, and their introspection. They were heavily introspective about who they are, and finding that sense of belonging and community, really curious about like what their gifts are, what they were good at. And I would always press upon it, try things that are different and be the exception and not the rule. Do things that they say Black girls don't do.
Mm-hmm.
Be in places that they say Black girls don't go.
Yeah.
So yes, to answer your question, they both kind of rose around the same time. And even in the infancy, I was also hosting a poetry series.
Mm.
So I had my day job, Power of Girlhood, coaching, and a poetry series. And at that time, I don't think we had full language for people who are multi-passionate.
Mm.
There wasn't language around it then. And there was in the earlier days of coaching or even business building, everyone wanted you to niche down.
Mm-hmm.
And that just never felt natural to me. I mean, as human beings, we're multifaceted and layered and complicated. Like, I just didn't accept that pathway for myself.
What's the term now? What's the term?
Multi-hyphenate, multi-passionate, multi-potentialite. So there are places now that are more welcoming.
Sure.
And even in job descriptions, we see things like can multitask,
Mm-hmm.
do well under pressure, comfortable with ambiguity, entrepreneurial spirit. You'll see that even in some job descriptions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so having a more expansive view and interest, I think, refine a certain skill set definitely for resilience.
Yeah.
And adaptability.
Yes. No, you describing me, and it's hard explain that to people still, right? Until you get to a place where you appear successful, then it's like, okay, it must be working, right? But before, it's kind of like either
Noah's
what
Ark.
I what'd you say?
Noah's Ark.
Yeah,
everybody thought Noah was crazy. Like, it's not a cloud in the sky. You
yeah,
over here.
that's right. That's right. I just celebrated 2 years of the podcast on October 12th. Was the first podcast that I released. October 12th, 2020. And I was just reminiscing with the president of Capnic, the Employee Benefits Division, Steve. And 2 years ago, when I walked into the office, he said, "Come here. What do you plan on doing with this Baxter's Buzz thing?" And I said, "I don't know. I have a couple ideas. I'm just, trying to create some good content, trying to have some good conversations, trying to meet some awesome people." And okay. And we were kind of laughing about it recently. Now he gets it, right? Now he's a huge fan. Not that he wasn't a fan before, but everybody's really like in this wait and see kind of, okay, what, and then how does can it make a positive impact on the business, right? That's great that you have this passion and you're creative in that way. But is it going to translate to some dollars for your day job, quote unquote? And once you see a line where people can kind of correlate the two, then it's like, wow, you should do more of that, right? So it was before like, well, what are you trying to do to, keep doing that thing, right? Keep doing those things. Because for me, the different things that I do kind of feeds my passion for the other things that I do, right? It's tough for me to be really like singular in my thinking. I just don't do really well with that. To sort of pivot back to the feminine sort of energy and this passion. I was talking to my 9-year-old, my daughter, this morning, and I told her she reminds me of me a lot, and it kind of scares me because I'm like, well, what's she gonna do? Is she gonna be all over the place? So even though I know that, there's some real benefits to being this passionate person, and also you can find yourself in this weird space where you don't really know, right? And I know that she's creative, she takes to a lot of things, but what is she gonna do with that? And so I just told her this morning, you are a magnet for like people. You don't have to be anything that you don't want to be. You don't have to pretend. The people that are going to find you are going to find you because you are you. Stand in that, stand up for yourself, make sure people respect you, you respect others, and just be you. And the people that are going to be around you, says, no, it sounds difficult right now. It sounds a little abstract. Trust me, the right people are going to find you when you're yourself. Problem is, when we start trying to be somebody else, we end up around people that we maybe shouldn't be around, right? And so
you're doing that for her, not to interrupt, but I love that you're helping her be herself, because I don't think that we know how to do that. There's no class on Be Yourself 101. And when you were talking about singular focus or narrow thinking has led us down the pathway that we're currently seeing being challenged and disrupted. 2020, we saw a racial reckoning unfold. I mean, how many centuries was that brewing? There was going to be eventually a tipping point in our culture and our awareness. And, the lynching of George Floyd was a ripple heard around the world. We're seeing similarly with the women of Iran in the cutting of the hair as a protest over the life of the young woman, who lost her life. And we're seeing it because of social media, but it wasn't saying that the revolution wasn't brewing. Mm-hmm. But when we have just a narrow focus, status quo, this is the way things have always been. But whose expense, whose voice is being suppressed, who is not being seen in their entire humanity, and bringing it to the conversation that you had with your daughter. Be yourself. She's from, what is it, 7 to 9 is where our personalities and who we are begins to cement. You're fortifying her with the assurance that she can explore who that is, right? Because I think many of us as adults are still trying to find Neverland. Who am I? Who am
That's
I?
right.
What
That's
is
right.
my purpose? And what am I here for? And I think it was I heard in a Les Brown speech, he said, most heart attacks occur on Monday morning.
Mm,
And so what's driving that? You're going to a job or clocking in somewhere that isn't fulfilling to your soul, to your spirit.
mm,
And what you were saying earlier about how essentially if it doesn't make dollars, it don't make sense. Like people don't understand. But in those early years, I'll use myself as an example. I really had to turn blinders on because it wasn't for everybody else to get.
mm-hmm.
And, speaking plainly, when you grow up in the African American traditional Judeo Christian value, you go to school to be a lawyer, doctor, accountant, like those are all acceptable career pathways. If you're gonna
Sure.
be a teacher, and
Yeah.
I love teachers because without teachers, I mean, we wouldn't have a world. So thank God for you, especially right now. Oh my goodness. So
Yes, that's right.
all all our educators and those who support the educators and administrators right now. But there has to be this this voice or something that ignites on the inside of you to follow your path. And this is where um, your intuition, your gut, your knee jerk, your instinct
Mm,
comes in. And like you said, your daughter, like you,
mm-hmm.
draws people to her. So there are themes that she can create as she gets older. And even for those who may be listening, start paying attention to the themes of your life. Start paying attention to those things that you do well with like the least amount of effort.
Mm-hmm.
Because in certain areas, I'll tell you, like my 80% is the average person's 100.
Hello. So you talked about this Monday morning, which I think is fascinating. I just came across a statistic recently that said that folks that feel like they are not, their job that they're doing is not aligned with their strengths, they burn out at 20 hours every week. So it's like, it's this, hey, this is where I feel like my sweet spot is. Here's where I feel most comfortable. And then y'all got me doing all this other stuff that doesn't feel like it's aligned, right? And it's a stretch. And I can do it. It's not that I can't do it, it's just that it's not fulfilling. And now 20 hours into every week, I'm pretty much done. And now I'm on autopilot. And that's another conversation for another day. And I think leaders have to be more aware, but also individuals have to take some more responsibility as far as identifying those strengths and kind of where they feel best and most fulfilling and all that stuff. Again, conversation for another day, but I think you were going to start talking about sort of leveraging the things that come naturally and what you do well, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that when you lean into your strengths, and when I was in school, I was a business major, and I never will forget the first day at econ, my professor talked about absolute and comparative advantage. And
Mm,
so while there may be one person that can do everything well, we know that from a functionality perspective, that's not sustainable. So you're going to have to give some things off, even though you could do everything
yeah.
well. You're going to have to give things off to people. And I'm of the mindset that to a certain degree, leaders are made, but their leadership is forged. So you can be
Mm.
born with the aptitude to lead. You're just a natural leader. And it's not so much that you desire to have people follow you. Um, you aren't designed to go with the flow or with the status quo.
Hmm.
And so some people might call that divergent or anarchist. But there's a leadership quality because there's a constitution within oneself to see things differently and to forge a different path and see or read between the lines and really kind of easily bottom line things.
Hmm.
And those are great characteristics of a leader.
Yeah. I think that there's sometimes that you, again, like my daughter, people are just kind of drawn to it. And it was like really cool last year. At the end of last year, we went to like the school function. And it was like really cool to kind of see. But sometimes we're not aware of like the power that we possess.
Mm-hmm.
And then we may like people being drawn to us. We don't know what to do with it. People may be lining up behind us, but we don't know where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
How do you um help people sort of understand their strengths and understand like, all right, I got these people behind me. They want to be led. I want to help, but how do I properly sort of lead them somewhere? Like, how do you help people sort of find their strengths and sort of understand how to leverage those things?
Yeah, so it's so funny because we had that conversation. So I have a 10-month group program within my coaching, and I have about 7 women in the coach, and we were talking about that, like how people are just naturally drawn to you. So as a empathic, highly sensitive person, this is someone that can feel the thoughts, feelings, and emotions of another person as if they were experiencing it for themselves, like in a local way in their bodies. And so um, one of the things that I was supporting them in quantifying was, well, what do I do with people say that you're such a light? You're like sunshine in a bottle, or I like your vibe. What do you do with that? And so it's one thing to sort of captivate and mesmerize people, with charisma, but then it's quite another to help mold and shape and support people in a particular direction. So when you
Mm.
really distill that down to what do those words mean, what does it translate to? So someone who has a warm and inviting presence can be a person that does well under pressure, because when everyone else is sort of losing it, right? A person that has a disposition that way can hold the space for those who can't under pressure or in high stakes situations, right? So you are able to quickly find resolve and direction. And that's needed, especially in startup environment. Well, it really any environment, but particularly in startup environments, but any organization is going to look to the person. And it's funny, my sister has a similar disposition and had an opportunity to compose a company-wide email. So she was tapped because of that continence that she has, that is that warm, inviting, very steady, solid. Okay, we need to deliver some news that's not so good, but in a way that honors the humanity, right? That's not something that you can necessarily learn how to do in a textbook.
Sure.
That's kind of
Yeah.
that's an innate thing, because it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And you can have a genius in a particular area, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the delivery and the ability to teach it. So there's a multitude of ways, again, to sort of express that. So if people are drawn to you, that's a lot of responsibility, number one. So to whom much is given, much is required. But then what will you be doing? And if it's not rooted in the overall cultivation and expansion and well-being of another, that's when the gift can kind of be perverted.
Okay. All right. We this is a lot, and you are so right, and you got my mind going in so many different directions. I'll say this: so not only will your sister would have been able to sort of craft this email, there may have been someone who could have crafted that same email, but coming from her, people that know her, they're going to receive it differently because of her spirit and sort of who they know her to be, right? So even if somebody else wrote the whole thing, it coming from her versus some other people, it's just going to be received differently, right? And that's that other piece of that light and that empathy that I think is important. And some folks get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to those things because we know we had these experiences that they care.
Mm-hmm.
And they are warm and they're not cold, right? And all those things sort of it helps us interpret it a different way based on sort of who's delivering that message. So you talked about this 10-month program that you have. Talk about that and talk about some of the upcoming things that you have coming up.
Yeah. So, I mean, in addition to one-on-one coaching, I do have a 10-month sister mind. So it's sort of a combination of a mastermind and a sister circle. So I have this sister mind that I walk women, entrepreneurs, and leaders through to help cultivate, again, a stronger sense of self and agency, but also how to create a sustainable business. So whether you're a founder or you work for an organization, what are ways that you can use your natural gifts based in empathy and empathic to help the triple bottom line, which I believe is both people, profit, and I guess maybe it's more like three, and passion. Like, how do we ignite and fire off on all of those cylinders? And so we walk through that longer program. But a portion of the proceeds that I bring in through my coaching goes back to the Power of Girlhood organization, which is the organization for girls between the 8 and 18, which cultivates leadership. And so we like to expose girls to adult women, adult partners. We have a magazine that we just launched. Yeah, that just came out this summer. We just celebrated our 11-year anniversary as an organization.
That's amazing. Congratulations. Yes.
Thank you. 10 years of hosting the International Day of the Girl. We are the oldest running consecutive program of the International Day of the Girl. And we go to schools, detention centers. We have a YouTube series that we have a young host who is a student at Wayne State. Actually, both of our young women. We have a project manager and a communication specialist who's a student at Wayne State, and so is our host of the YouTube channel, is also a student at Wayne State. And ironically, I graduated from Wayne State, so I guess Wayne State University.
Yeah.
If there are any Wayne alumni watching, we will also kindly take a donation to help keep our work moving. So it is very rewarding to have your work and your values line up.
Sure.
And I think that kind of congruence is really important. Whether you're in a leadership capacity or not, just in life, we want our values and our mission to align.
That's right. That's right. Natural gifts based in empathy. I love that you talk about people, profit, and passion. And I don't know if profit is intentionally in the middle of that. I think sometimes people lead with profit and they forget about the people, or they try to lead with the profit and figure the people will just catch on. But we need to lead with the people, right? And like you said, the whether you're leading people or whether you're just sort of part of the mission, we all have such an important part to play, and we all need to make sure that we don't discount the role that we have and the other people around us have, and sort of moving this ship forward, whatever that ultimate goal is. We need to make sure that we are leading it from a place of empathy, and putting people above anything else.
Right, because I mean, if you don't have people, you're not going to have profit. And if we don't have passion, then we're not going to be able to sustain the people and the profit, because there has to be something on the inside, an internal flame or fire or something that ignites you, because there are times where things are going to get choppy and ambiguous. You don't know. And we have to accept life on life's terms. So something has to be on the inside of you that kicks in to say, against all odds, in the face of, this is what I'm here to do. Here's me showing up in the fullest expression of myself, and to get back in the ring, wherever that.
Yeah. Wow. So she is a business coach. She's an empath. She is a poet, the founder of Power of Girlhood and the leadership. Just salute to all that you are doing, all the upcoming, the anniversary, the magazine. You're leading the right way, and I know why that light is shining on you, because you're putting the people first. Ber-Henda Williams, thank you so much for joining me, and we have to do it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For everyone listening, please make sure that you like, subscribe, share this wonderful conversation, and also, just as it relates to you, just know that you are capable. You just need to embrace your own frequency. So on behalf of Ber-Henda, I am Baxter E. And until next time, peace.
Thanks, everybody.
Welcome into his brain. Welcome into his frequency. Enter at your own risk. Come be at peace with me.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. Please subscribe, share, and also hit that notification button as well. Thank you so much.
Financial literacy to authentic Black history. This real rap.